Good morning on this beautiful Saturday morning, and I got a couple stories. First of all, thank you for the newcomers that come in here and giving me a shot. Tell some stories, try to remember them to the best of my ability, and I thank you all for your support. That's all. Okay. Um, and the ticker's going up. They unblocked me. I was censored and all that, but that's irrelevant. But I'm going to try to tell a story, and I'm going to try to do my best and everything. Hey, Rick. No, I'm still throwing. Rick. They had me on the ropes, standing 8 count, but I'm still throwing. I'm trying to, hang out and tell some stories to the best of my ability. I'm not no big shot YouTube guy, whatever. Mike Francis and Sammy the Bull and all that. So I'm going to try to, it says, the mafia bosses and a lot of other people on the FBI payroll. Now, a lot of you might already realize that's common knowledge. And some might be surprised. I don't know who comes in here, Mr. Leon Swan. And so there's a lot of little sidebars and everything that I can't get into. I have other past videos that might explain things. Look in the thumbnail and everything else. So let's try to start from the start. I'm educated, a little business school, and I see a guy. I end up in a steel business office selling steel. That's part of a gambling ring, and a big gambling ring in the Northeast United States. And I get in there, and I start running little deliveries up to Niagara Falls. This was in Buffalo. And I start running and then I branched out and did some other deliveries across the state. And while I'm in the office, I'm accepting. My boss says, if there's calls from a prison penitentiary, accept them. So this guy's calling, and I would accept the call, and then transfer it back to his office. His name was Robert K. He was in a federal penitentiary for robbing his parents' life savings and then losing the money on a Super Bowl. Yeah, really nice guy. The worst of the worst, believe me. So when he gets out of the pen, he decides to do his work release in our office where we're running a gambling ring. Well, they are. I'm just a little errand boy, and I'm actually trying to be a steel salesman, but I want to make a couple extra dollars by running some errands. And here he comes, and hey, Shapeski, good to see you. I love you guys' support. I get sidetracked. There's no fancy production, intro, outro. I just do it by the seat of my pants. Wherever it goes, it goes. I do love and appreciate that support. So this rodent robs his family and blows all the money. He bets it all, 250, 300,000, 400,000 on a Super Bowl and loses. So I got to pick him up at the airport, and he's talking all this big, he's talking like he's the king of the world. I didn't like him. So he had to do his work release in our office. So what happens then? The FBI starts coming to our office to see if this guy has been coming in. He's not going to be in there trying to sell any steel, but it's just a cover. And I believe he made a deal with the FBI also to get out of prison and come into our office and infiltrate and see about this gambling ring and see if they could get the top fish higher and higher and higher. So let's fast forward, because now I'm thinking Sam the boss in Niagara Falls would never allow that. He would say, Mike, what do you got this guy in here? Whatever, what's going on? You bring a guy right out of federal pen into your office where we're trying to run a gambling ring. So that, in retrospect, how would that fly? How would that fly? So I took notes. That's why I'm looking over here, because I don't want to miss out on anything. But so mafia bosses, there were many mafia bosses on the FBI payroll and other underlings that were on the FBI. Some publicized, some not. There's not just everything you see on YouTube, and then you just think that's the nature, that's the story of organized or the mafia and all that, just from whatever you're seeing from these channels. It's not always what Mike Francis is telling you or Sammy the Bull Gravano's telling you. And everybody clinges to their words. But I'm not gonna bash them, because it's all about telling good stories, and they're good storytellers. Who cares if they're true or false? So I'm going back and forth, and this female agent comes into the office, and she's checking on this Robert K. to see if he's coming. I mean, to see if he's actually doing his work release, and he's never in the office, Thanks, Shapeski. And fast forward, so now me and the FBI agent are getting friendly. And hold on. I'm not no rat and anything like that. But I just thought, if I could navigate and just feel things out, see what's what. I'm not participating in any crime, and I'm safe, and just see what's going on with these parties and these characters and where it's going. I'm on the hustle to try to make money. I'm trying to sell steel, and I'm trying to make a couple extra dollars. So Sam the boss in Niagara Falls, thinking back, he must have known that you had this Robert K. in the office, and then I had told him, and then he was pissed. But a man, you got to think logically and realistically that these bosses and underbosses and high tier mob figures that get to be 65, 70 years old, and they have their freedom. Listen, at some point in time, they were involved with the FBI. That's a fair statement to make. That's a fair statement. And how they survived and didn't go, some did time when they were younger and everything else. And then the RICO laws came, and then it was just like, you go do 20 years, it's over. So they survived a long time, and they were free men. So that was they did. So say Sam has a crew, 5 or 6 people, and Sam's involved with the FBI. Sam the boss, he's involved with the FBI. And then you have somebody in the crew that's involved in the FBI, a mole, that knows Sam is also in the FBI, and Sam don't know who he might be telling or anything else. So Sam wants to retire, ride off into the sunset, and he's got all those loose ends. And You don't want to be on a beach in Hawaii, and then here comes a federal agent coming up and saying, come with me, you're 74 years old, and now they're putting cuffs on you. So they're trying to protect their freedom after they retire. I'm trying not to slurp because I would turn right off. If I was watching somebody on YouTube and they slurped, I'll just turn it right off. I'm trying not to slurp. So I go up to Sam's, and I'm saying, Sam, how the hell you know this stuff is going on? And I said, there's an FBI agent lady coming to the office, checking to see if Robert K's coming in and everything. And he acted like he already knew that. Nothing was ever uttered to him. Nothing was ever communicated to him. And it just didn't make any sense. I thought he might explode and say, you mother. I know I'm going all over the place here, but I'm just trying to more or less reinforce and communicate that the paranoia within a boss and the crew and who in the background is cooperating, and it's just an insane mind freak. And Sam, like, so you're seeing like what the FBI's got all these informants, maybe in my office, in Sam, and well, why are they gonna all inform on each other? If all these people are in bed with the FBI, what would be their motivation to get the higher links in New York City, where you might have organized crime, you might have racketeering going on with other crime families in New York City involved in this gambling ring? Because if you look at it, you just got Sam and his crew, who knows who's talking to the FBI, and then you got Robert K in my office, right out of the federal pen. You know he's been talking to the feds. He just did 4 or 5 years in a federal penitentiary. So those feds been up his butt for years. And he was a weasel, and they know they can break him. He got early release. Geez, I wonder why he got released early from the federal pen to go be a mole in this operation and see what he can get. So and then there was another crime family with Tony M that Robert K was trying to hustle. That's a whole nother story. Very interesting story, how this Robert K conned another high-ranking member of another crime family into putting up a lot of money to invest in the stock market. Some crazy bullcrap. So so now, I'm sorry I'm all over the place. It's early in the morning, and I'm an old man, so my mind gets foggy. All right. So there's a lot going on, and if the FBI has tapes and somebody's life is threatened, they have to notify the person. Even if it compromises their investigation, they could be investigating for a year or 2 years, but under the law, maybe sometimes they follow that law and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they might even pit families and people against each other, and there's bloodbaths. So now the FBI, they're listening to wiretaps, and they got Sam's place wired. Sometimes they'd bring a guy in to sweep the place for $100, some technician guy technician guy, and he'd go through or anything to try to find bugs. But somehow they had it. They had some. If they got in, they breached the club, the restaurant, and there was tapes in there, and they were saying, how much do I know, and they're bouncing around, and they're talking about me. And they're saying, no, Joe don't know nothing. He's just a little guy running around trying to make an extra $20 here or there. And then the other guy's saying, I don't like him because I had some run-ins with a couple of the members, if you watch the other videos. And I got out of it, thankfully, but they wanted to kill me. But I got out of it thanks to my godfather, who was an enforcer for the mob, different families. And I got out of it. So they're bouncing around all this stuff. And I hear the tape. I'm like, so I'm a little crazy and a little unbalanced. And I go up and I tell Sam, which I thought I might not even leave the building. I thought that I'm going to go up there. I couldn't sleep. And I was going to the church, lighting candles. Please, God, bless me. Let me get out of this. But my mind was sick. I couldn't sleep, stress, and everything else. So I said, so I confront Sam. You guys, the whole place is wired and everything else. Blah, 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 blah. And he acted like he already knew. And his objective was to get rid of his crew, who was like the Motley crew, like the Three Stooges, the bad news bears of the mob, so he can have a nice, safe retirement. And because when you got an organization and you got hundreds of thousands of dollars and you got loose ends, if you're soldiers and underlings and everything else, you're running around hustling, doing whatever you can. Most aren't following the omerta anyways. But Sam, I believed, was like, he was going to retire in 6 months or a year. And I believe he was cooperating with the FBI, and he was going to eliminate that crew. And I was friendly with the female FBI agent, and I met up with her, and she was like, "You're in jeopardy, blah blah blah, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Whatever. I'm going to be leaving soon. I don't want to know nothing." And she put all these pictures up. And she was like, dead, like 6 pictures. And she was like, dead, missing. I said, I don't know nothing about it. I'm not privileged to that information. I run a couple little errands, and it's I'm not involved. I'm not on the end on when this organized mob family is doing major things. I'm not in the know on that. You could hear tidbits about stuff after the fact or anything, but I'm not linked or connected to any of those kinds of crimes. So, I'm telling her we have a very friendly relationship together, and it was almost like playing mental chess, mental hopscotch. We're getting more and more friendly, and I'm like, I'm not going to take the bait. If you're going to, you're going to get me in bed, and I'm going to just start telling you all this information, Sally, So, but that evened out. But it's like, so they end up, that crew ends up disappearing. And from limited information, they went missing. Whether they were whacked, if they ran to Mexico or whatever, but the government believed that they were dead or whatever. But then you don't know who in that crew could have been an informant. So they got many tricks. People could disappear. They could claim them to be dead, and they're just in witness protection out in Arizona or South Dakota or wherever. So you have to take everything, you know, it with a grain of salt. But when people are watching these channels, yeah, I gotta quit the sticks. I gotta quit them. But I'm 60. Do what you enjoy. We're all gonna drop anyways. What am I gonna look at 90 years old? Let me enjoy right now my living years. Take a couple puffs. So you see the mob and the families and everything else, and it's just like those high families, the royalty in the families, the captains, the underboss, consigliere, they were in bed with the FBI. Mike Francis, who I knew way back then, and they had a big gambling ring and everything, the Colombo family. And he informed. He does a good channel. I'm not gonna bash him. He does a good channel and everything, but he tries to deflect that he cooperated with the FBI. I mean, who cares at this point in time, Mike? You got 8 million subscribers. You got all the money in the world. It's okay. You cooperated many times with the FBI, bro. Big deal. Big deal. It just comes with the turf. It comes with the turf. But the FBI, they're saying this crew, they're dead, and they're trying to get more information out of all these people to knock down the players in the New York City crime families. Now you got 5 crime families in New York City, and the media and social media will just tell you that they're always at war and they're always fighting against each other. Yeah, it used to happen, but they, in a gambling ring where there's hundreds of thousands of dollars, they would make financial moves and leverage with each family so they could realize more profits from the gambling ring. It's not all what you see on all that, Mike Francis, Sammy the Bull, or whatever TV shows. It ain't all, they're not all enemies at all the time. But a lot of times when they couldn't get you for murder, they would just get you for, a gambling ring or anything like that. And then when they had the RICO laws, any one of those charges could just get you 20 years. So when that happened, that changed the complexion. It changed everything. And you had people that historically would never cooperate with the FBI that have young children now that are 4 or 5. And if they don't cooperate, they ain't going to see that kid till they're out of college. So it put a bigger weight on the psyche and mentality of mobsters who historically would never break. But it got so bad that even the bosses were informants. It got so bad, and it turned everything around, and it was just crazy. And you think you're on the mob team or the FBI team, and both factions could be playing double crossing and everything else. And you had people that were cooperating with the FBI just to spare their freedom. And you got people that were cooperating with the FBI getting $1,000, $2,000 a week. And you might have had the FBI telling a mobster, hey, watch out. We got knowledge that this entity or this entity is coming after you. And then they'll tell the other guy, oh, we got knowledge that this entity is coming after you. And they would pit them against each other if it wasn't bad enough that everybody's already paranoid and might pull the trigger. And then they would cause trouble. Or if they actually wanted a guy removed because he might have been so infiltrated with the FBI that they might not want to get exposed by the United States Attorney General or the New York State District Office, because there's so much chess being played, and there were just informants everywhere. I look back and look at that situation in our office with that Robert K. and Sam, and I flip it around in my head, even decades later, and try to look at it from different directions because it was so convoluted. And then you try to figure out what was the real motivation for that. 30 years later, 40, I'm still trying to figure out, but you just gotta say, hey, it was just everybody was cooperating, and everybody was trying to spare their freedom, save their freedom, and it got so bad that the paranoia set in, and you don't know who knows what, and then people just go missing, and there's nothing concrete where you could say this is the way it is all the time with the mafia, or this is the way it is all the time with the FBI. You can't make blanket statements like that because everything changed. Everything changed every other day. Hey, Randy, yeah. Oh, you know what? Scarpa, I was trying to think of Scarpa. In my mind. Thank you, Randy. Scarpa, oh my gosh. Other guys from Philadelphia and man, you would never imagine. Sometimes we're just getting information decades later, somewhere in the know. Persicos knew Scarpa was an informant and let him live. Thanks, Randy. Yeah. But then you have to wonder, what did who were the Persicos in bed with, man? It's just convoluted. And yeah, everybody hates the term rat. Rat. But I saw families. I visited people in prison, and I saw the wife and the children and the mother leaving prison crying because their son is doing 25 to life. I saw, because that guy didn't rat. But I hate to say it. I hate to make this statement, my dear friends, my newcomers, and everything else. It came to a point of paranoia where you're in a predicament, and the FBI, it's just like self-preservation. It came to the point where it was like, I better rat first, because when they catch up with Jimmy, he's a little shaky. He's going to give me up. So it became survival of the fittest, and forget the omerta and forget all the codes of the mafia. And it was like, I'm not going down like that. I got children under 5 years old. I'm not going to go do 20 to 25, and I'm going to get him before he gets me. Paranoia. Straight up paranoia. And you can criticize and go, they're rats. There's rats. There's some just rats out there. But then there were some other rats where I don't know if it's justified, but it was like, you're going to get ratted on. So is there any glory to going down like that? Is there a medal of honor to go down like that while you're doing time in the pen and your family's out there crying, your wife, your mother, your father, your children visiting? So what do you want? That badge of honor and sit in the pen? or be home with your family because you're going to get ratted on first. I think there's a lot of YouTube channels. And the stuff Mike Francis is telling you and Sammy the Bull is telling you, and people are taking that as fact, concrete codes and morals. They were both rats. He talks about all this stuff, and he didn't do all the time he said he did. I don't want to bash Mike Francis. God bless him, but the dates that he was supposed to be in prison and all that, it doesn't jive. We're not going to get into that. But they were rats. Your hero, Mike Francis, on YouTube channel, 5 million subscribers, he was a rat. No kidding. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to come to that conclusion. Sammy the Bull, he's already a rat. Sammy the Bull was more or less a ratty rat. A ratty rat. But then again, he figured John Gotti wouldn't have testified. John Gotti was a true mafia, true blue. Sammy the Bull was the ratty rat. You know, hey, Mario, Rick James, Randy Marsh. I appreciate these good people coming in. I didn't expect to be here 31 minutes. You know, Mario says, Jojo, what's up? New York needs to consolidate to one family with one underboss running each borough. Now, it's a fair statement, Mr. Mario Mendez. If you want to look at the 5 families and what they did, crime organization, my mind sometimes likes to say, this is a corporation. And you might have the Coca-Cola Corporation, the Pepsi-Cola Corporation, the whatever, and so forth and so on. Yeah, I was kind of against Mikey Scars. He texted me in the thing a couple times, and he was cool. But and he's supposed to be the rat and everything else. But I watched him a couple times and commented, and he actually contacted me. He did actually he actually contacted me, and I give him a lot of credit. They run a good thing, Mikey Scars, and he has the guy that interviews him, and it was pretty interesting. So, but getting back to the corporations, now you think they would run a tighter ship, that there is enough money to go around. There's enough money to go around. Just to have one big agreement. Nobody say anything to FBI. If somebody is suspected of talking in the family, kill them. Get rid of that poison. And so it's like, I look at the fall of a lot of these families, and it's just like, you went down like that. You went down like that. You couldn't run a tight corporation. There's enough money to go around. And because of the omerta and everything else, and because of the RICO laws, everything fell apart. And now who took over all the rackets? You're right, the government. They're the biggest bookies. They're the biggest. They're legalized gambling. How many people went to prison for racketeering, for gambling, and everything else, and did 20 years, were ruined by that? And then the government says, well, guess what? I think it's okay. We'll do it. Really? Really? The government is the biggest organized crime outfit out there. I mean, we're not going to get into that, but the games they run, they make the mob look like altar boys. So, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's why a lot of those mob bosses and underbosses and everything else, They were in bed with the FBI, and it was more prevalent when the RICO Act came along, and then and there's obviously not a historical record of things that went on in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s because nobody knows. There's just some things that were just kept secret and it never came to the light. So we got these YouTube channels and everybody's sorting things out, telling stories about all this and that, but we can make judgments and assessments and everything else and try to put the puzzle together, but you can't come up with one concrete rule of thumb because it was all scattered. Everything, paranoia, fear of going to prison, bosses that were with the FBI for 20, 30 years. You just don't know the background stories that were going on, the dealings and everything else. And if the mob was afraid of being exposed with informants, they'd get killed. I mean, they would kill them off. And the FBI had their tricks of maintaining that anonymity, and a lot of blood was shed. But it's just crazy looking back. And I'm not trying to bash Mike Francis, but and I know he's for our country and he's trying to do spiritual things and, join up for $4.99 and the Patreon, let him spoon feed you for $10 a month. And, let him. He knows how to make money. Now, am I jealous? No. God bless him. God bless him. I like telling the stories, but I think if I was sitting on millions and millions of dollars, he's doing his channel for ego, but he's not the squeaky clean guy that you folks might think he is. We all know about Sammy the Bull Gravano. Excuse me. But Mike Francis ain't that squeaky. He's just not that guy he's portraying to be, very cerebral, down on making money and everything else. And what he tells you about that gas tax racket scheme, half of that ain't even true. Yeah, there's the money and everything, but he don't like to tell you about getting shook down and handing money to other family. He don't want to tell you how he had to agree with other families and people. He don't want to tell you that he got more or less extorted. He don't want to tell you that because he is the true mafia boss gangster. Nobody can intimidate him. Well, when you're making millions of dollars every week and it's known all over New York City, people are going to come and knocking on your door with their hand out. So, and what did he care? Because he was telling them he was making X amount of dollars. So whatever he was handing over to the other families was a certain amount of money. But if they only knew what the truth was, they would have wanted more. But that was Mike, good chess player. But he's not the end all of knowledge. I don't bash him anymore. I don't get into that. But, Stefano Magaddino, they had many names for the Buffalo outfit. They had a lot of different names. The New York State crime family, they had labeled Magadinos. They had connections all over, like Cleveland and everything else, and they were running side by side in the early days. in the early days, they were running side by side. They were more into other intimidating type of things, more violence, violence, violence. I was around some people that it was gambling outfit. Yes, very dangerous, but it's like a big gambling ring. Where just try to run your gambling ring without violence. I mean, there didn't need to be that much violence. But Magadino, the Magadino and all of them, they were trigger happy, and it was a rodeo with them. It was a rodeo with them. And the boss, the Niagara Falls boss, Sam, going way back, some of the people would talk about this and that, and they say, they stay in their lane, we stay in our lane. They're involved in this type of stuff. They don't want a piece of our action, and we don't want a piece of their action. Go do your stuff. God bless you. We'll do our stuff. We'll leave you alone. Leave us alone. And you got to realize now that you're growing up in a geographical area like Western New York, and there's people that are involved in these families that in one family and another family might be related or cousins or something like that. It's like cross-pollination. They would cross-pollinate, and you might be more intimate on that level, and there might be more respect between those families. Well, you got to realize you got people in one geographical area. So, and most of those people in the falls or even a lot of them, they don't want to participate in that. Just run your corporation, make that money in that gambling ring. Who wants to do that? But they still implode it for the reasons I specified earlier in this video. They still self-imploded. And I wonder, why couldn't you just run a safe, clean corporation, AKA crime family? Why? Why? Is it just human nature to just paranoia, greed, and everything else? But geez. And sure, they had sit downs, commission. All right, everybody, let's all get on the same page. Let's all run this. Let's not be stupid. And then 2 weeks later, it's the wild, wild west. What? Sigmund Freud wouldn't be able to figure it out. Sigmund Freud himself. And I don't know. I appreciate the new people coming in here. Randy Marsh, Shapesky. Let's see what we have. Rick James. She's a very kinky girl. Leon Swan, Rick James. Leon been around. Good people. He's been riding with me for a while. I appreciate. Hey, Mo Alley. Where have I been? Where have you been, Mo? Randy, good to have you guys in there. They uncensored me. They turned me back on. Grandino. Roy DeMeo, Danny Green on the payroll. Wow. Yeah, man. I get a little aggravated and I get a little pissed off. And I'm repeating myself. Mike Francis running around over there like the golden boy and Ned and Rat and all this and that and everything else. And it's just like, you're not better than the other mobsters. You're not better. I mean, there is a little integrity and class, within these people. Respect and integrity was a major part of everything. Yes, it got derailed, but, it's... And he's the encyclopedia on the mob with 8 million subscribers and all that, blah, 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 blah. He's an entertainer. He's a hustler. You would have to expect that from a guy from a mob family. So, that's Roy DeMeo was just the psycho of all the psychos. My godfather knew him. Them guys. But I don't know. I appreciate you folks coming in here. My ticker's going up a little. I didn't expect to be on here 45 minutes, but I got some company with these good people, and I'm on good standing with YouTube again because you know what I did in the past. I don't want to bring it up because they'll shut me down again. So I'm just gonna ride without talking smack. People come in and ride with me, and I want to do another video about the Aryan brothers that you don't hear a lot about. I mean, there's prison stories with the Crips and Bloods and the Aryan brothers, and I knew a couple very close to one Aryan brother that was in a prison out in the Southwest, and then he came home. But we were in contact the whole time through his long bid he did, and it's just so I want to do a little video on there were a couple Aryan brothers on the west side around the Crips, Blood, and all that. I mean, so I'll get to that video, and I'll get back to the mob stories and everything else. So Salvador Tommy Torpy from Rochester. Well, that Rochester, I can't remember, but I did videos about Big Gene DeFrancisco, and they were all rolling around. Big Gene was a treacherous man. I met him at the racetrack, and he took a liking to me, and I would help him bat, and we got close. And I think he was around them guys back then. I'm not sure. I'd be lying if I said I knew whatever. But I think that might have been the time, because the Rochester mob was vicious. People never hear anything about the Rochester mob. They were bombing buildings, and they were people don't hear anything about a Rochester mob. They were just as crazy as any New York City mob or any mob anywhere. Anywhere. You can't say, just because geographically that one mob family, yeah, you could say, well, there was freaking crazy, horrific things that went on, but there's just crazy people everywhere, and they could join any crime family. And there were many within that Rochester mob. And I know an old man right now, probably 80, that was in the Rochester mob. And he's a nice guy. I'd see him at the casino and everything. He's a nice guy. And his nephew or his cousin was Big Gene. And when I started talking to him about Big Gene, he was like, that's my cousin. I was like, it's a small mob world. But I got some other stories about Big Gene D. And his ex-wife wrote the book Married to the Mob that was on the New York New York Times bestseller list, Married to the Mob. Yeah. And he was the guy, Big Gene. He was the husband. So thank you folks for riding with me and everything else. I try to remember to the best of my knowledge. You know, Sammy the Bull, who can't tie his shoes, he does these videos. Yeah, back in 1972 on Tuesday, March 29th at 8:33 in the morning, we did this. He's got writers, he's got editors, he's got everything else. God bless him. It's the hustle. Mike Francis, big production, you know, sitting on millions of dollars, big production. It looks like a Hollywood movie. Mike Francis's videos look, what do I got? My lighting ain't even good here. but we do it. All right. There's no ego here. I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a killer, gangster, mob guy. A regular guy, and I believe in Jesus. And I'm going to start doing these devotions again. Daily devotions, spiritual breakfast to psychology. A lot of stuff in the spiritual stuff is psychology. And outside of all this mob talk and all this and that, you good people are out in the world living your lives. You want to have prosperity and live in growth and have fun with your families and all that. But blood and guts is really entertaining. And that's quite obvious with all the millions of subscribers that these YouTube channels have. Not mine. I got 300. But I love every one of that 300. You're nice enough to come in here. My mind gets scattered and everything else, but it's a hobby of mine. It's a hobby. And I wrote a book, They Dead Missed, and it's on Amazon. It's a memoir of my time around the mob and other times where I was spared. Divine intervention spared me many times. So it's a beautiful, beautiful day. The sun is shining, and the birds are chirping. I don't drink. I'm not on drugs, but geez, I'm slurring. Everything else. But thanks for riding with me, folks. I appreciate it. I wasn't doing videos because they had me blocked. They had me censored. And I'm going to follow the rules now. And I'm going to keep my mouth shut and not, I don't want to get political. You start doing political things, and then all of a sudden we'll leave it at that. So I'm not going to talk too much politics anymore because it'll get you blocked. So thanks a lot, everybody. Once again, the YouTube is rising. I'm going to do that story about Robert K. I'm going to redo that story again and talk about this other crime family, Tony M., that this Robert K. conned out of hundreds of thousands. I'm going to do that story again because I got a lot more subscribers and you might not go back to those videos. So I'm going to do a refreshed version of this rodent that came into our office and then conned another crime boss out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Make believe that he was going to make money in the stock market. All right, folks. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Stay great. I appreciate your support, hanging out with me and riding with me on a nice Saturday morning. So thanks a lot, folks. I'll probably do another video tomorrow or Monday. So I'm going to just keep pumping them out. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. God bless you all.